Hello, everyone. My name is Shane German, the music director at WYCE 88.1 FM in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Today, we're thrilled to welcome into our virtual studio Joachim Cooder. Multi-instrumentalist, drummer, composer, and producer, Joachim Cooder started playing music when he was just 5 years old. By the time he was in his teens, he had been studying world percussion at the California Institute of the Arts and started contributing to his father Ry Cooder's musical projects. He performed on the now legendary sessions in Havana that produced Buena Vista Social Club and has worked with many of its players on their subsequent solo albums. Joachim Cooder has also recorded with a wide range of other performers, including Mavis Staples, Dr. John, and Ali Farka Touré, who further fueled his passion for the mbira, a variation on the African thumb piano. On his stunning new album, Over That Road I'm Bound, the songs of Uncle Dave Macon, Joachim Cooder enlists his family members to join him as he explores and expands upon tunes that were made famous by the pioneering Appalachian banjo picker and first major star of the Grand Ole Opry. Please welcome to WYCE, Joachim Cooder.
Well, it's hippity hop to the bucket shop. I lost all my money and now I have flopped. Well, it's hard times. What a pity, poor boy. Yes, it's hard times when you're down and out. Now this is the truth, and it certainly exposes the Wall Street proposition is not all roses. It's hard times. What a pity, poor boy. Yes, it's hard times when you're down and out. I put up my money to win some more. I lost all I had and it left me so sore. It's hard times. What a pity, poor boy. Yes, it's hard times when you're down and out. Well, I got no silver, I got no gold. I'm almost naked and it's done turned cold. It's hard times. What a pity, poor boy. Yes, it's hard times when you're down and out.
Hi, Joachim. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I just want to say your new album is absolutely breathtaking, stunning, meditative, revelatory. It's such a great record. It was one of my favorites of 2020, and we are still playing it into this new year. It's just absolutely beautiful.
Wow, that is so great to hear. Thank you.
It was kind of what we just saw was all in and down and out performance featuring your wife Juliet. This album is kind of a family affair, but it was kind of sparked by your daughter. How did you kind of open up that world of Uncle Dave Macon?
Well, it it started when I was a little boy, because my dad played a lot of banjo music around the house, and one of the songs I remember being very taken by was one of Uncle Dave's songs called "Morning Blues," and I didn't know anything. He didn't say, "Now this is Uncle Dave Macon, son," because I was 5 and I just loved the song. I brought my kids over within the last couple of years to visit my parents one day, and I heard him playing the same song on the banjo, and it all came back to me, and I said, "Wait, what is that song?" And he said, "Morning Blues, Uncle Dave Macon." And I grabbed my instrument that I play, the mbira that you mentioned, and I just started playing along with him and realizing it would be a really good tune for me to do in my show. And my daughter she really became obsessed with Uncle Dave. I brought home this box set that had, it's like 10 CDs, and she wanted to hear it all day. And it was just the only thing we would listen to in the house. And she insisted on certain songs in a certain order. And so then basically all of a sudden I realized, wait, I know all these songs now. And I started recording them. But it was very accidental. I didn't set out to do this. It kind of just happened naturally.
And when you grew up listening to the songs, he was such a character, and one of the first stars of the Grand Ole Opry. Um, what can you tell our listeners about his legacy once you kind of tapped into his wealth of songs?
Well, it's what became clear, which I didn't know until I was basically done with the project, was he went around in the, collecting this music that was very popular in the 1800s, late 1800s, which would have been minstrel music, medicine show music, um, folk, blues, things he picked up on people's back porches or things he learned when people came through town. And he then recorded all that music in the 1920s. And it seems like a lot of this stuff, had he not recorded them, would have been lost to time. And so he was a great, he almost like Alan Lomax, how he made all those field recordings. Uncle Dave did sort of the same thing and was able to keep some of this music alive and record it. And he was also a great showman, and he did a lot of funny stuff, and he swung his banjo around when he played, and made a lot of jokes and did a bunch of stuff. And so he was quite a character.
He was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 1966, and was, real prevalent, like you said, around the 19th century and turning into the early 20th century. I wasn't very familiar with his work, so when your CD came in, it actually led me to do more research on him, and I love it when that happens. And I'm sure that that's kind of what happens with you and your father, and being exposed to music that kind of leads you down discovery, and then clearly that's kind of going generation to your daughter, who's now
Yeah.
being, you know what I mean? It's like you're passing on this musical discovery, and I think it's quite wonderful, because it certainly led me down a path of discovery as well, to further look into him. He was known as the Dixie Dewdrop.
Right.
That was kind of his nickname, but a really fascinating historical figure in music, and I have you to thank for kind of opening my ears and eyes to this legendary artist. Now, you mentioned the mbira, which is a really interesting instrument that you play on this. Talk to me about how you came to discover that particular instrument. It just creates a gorgeous sound.
It really does. And that's why I love it so much, because I had this acoustic version of it. The instrument builder calls it a Ray Mbira. And it's kind of like a huge version of that little kalimba or thumb piano that people might be familiar with, that you sort of fit in the palm of your hand and pluck. And I played it around the house and on records and film scores. And then I found that he'd made an electric solid body version of it. And that enabled me to, plug it into a guitar amp and get a kind of cool sound, maybe a little distorted. And that really led me to singing my own songs, which I had never done until just a few years back. And it, like you said, it gets you into a very meditative state. And it's when I play my shows live, I kind of go into this kind of like a trance, just because you go into these little patterns, and that's everything kind of follows from there, and it's a really nice headspace to be in.
Do you, your father plays banjo on this. You've got some great players on here, including Raina Geller, who plays fiddle. Your wife, Juliet, does backing vocals. Sam Gandel is on bass. And Vieux Farka-Touré, who his father was kind of one of your musical mentors. Do you ever kind of get, and you've worked with, John Lee Hooker, Mavis Staples, do you ever get kind of starstruck, or are you kind of used to being around these legendary musicians just based on your growing up around them? Or do you ever be like, oh my God, I'm working with, these these incredible musicians? Do you ever get starstruck with that?
I think you can't help but be starstruck by somebody like Johnny Cash, he's such a presence. And when I was young, I got to play on a session with him for what was one song that was recorded for the Dead Man Walking soundtrack. Mm-hmm. And that was probably one of the most star-striking moments. However, with the other people, musicians are, for the most part, I found very kind of warm, sort of, and I'm not talking about celebrities, but I mean people who are just musicians first. I find them to be like the Buena Vista guys. They're all so generous with their spirits and their knowledge, and I think that's one of the great things. I feel like real deal celebrities are different, and I feel like I haven't dealt with too many of those, and I think that's a different thing, and it kind of puts you in a different place. But all these other people have always been so you learn so much from them, and they have so much to show you, and they want to show you stuff, and it's always been. I've always felt, not frightened.
Your most of your work is not behind the scenes, but you're never, you're the drummer or you're composer. You're not really out front. On this, I think, is such a departure because you are singing. You take the lead on the singing. Did that scare you at all, or do you find that you're comfortable in that element, and do you plan to do more of that, taking the front and center role?
Well, it came also by accident. I think it was when I became a dad. It changed the way I see myself, and I just started singing and writing songs, and it never occurred to me in a million years before this point to do it. I put out one record before this, which was the first. It was called Fuchsia Machu Picchu. It was the first time I ever sang, but it was very natural, and it felt like I had always been doing it, even though I hadn't. And I think there's just something about it was such a radical change to become a father, and my daughter really. She's always wanting to hear stories, and everything is a story. It's like, if there's I it's something about coat hangers. Like if there's four coat hangers, she sees that as a mommy, a daddy, a brother, and a sister, and what's their story? And then I have to instantly come up with something, and then if she likes the story, I have to keep telling it and keep changing the story, and it just kind of put me into a different headspace that I wasn't in before, and it lent it I just became a songwriter, and it was all very accidental.
Do you think she's got that music bug in her as well? Do you see that coming in her future?
I I have no idea. I can't tell what she she loves to listen to music and loves to talk about music, and but I haven't figured out yet what her, what, if she's gonna sing or play an instrument. We have a lot of stuff around, but I don't like to push it, so I'm kind of just, we have instruments everywhere, and if either of them, gravitates towards one or the other, it's all, I kind of want it to be on their own, and see what they choose.
Right. Well, obviously, coming from a legendary family like yours, I'm pretty sure if she does take that route, she'll be in good hands with mentors around her. The new album, Over That Road I'm Bound, the songs of Uncle Dave Macon by Joachim Cooder, is out now on Nonesuch Records. Joachim, hopefully when all of this is over, we would certainly love to see you take this album out on the road. And if you ever are in Grand Rapids, please do stop by.
Oh, Shane, I would love that. I always love coming to Michigan. Such a big, it used to be a big place we would always travel through. So I hope that's in our future soon.
Well, it's a stunning record, one of our favorites here at the station. Our programmers love it. Certainly one of my favorites of the past year. And I thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.